After 14 years, a new Bleach game is finally right around the corner. Bleach Rebirth of Souls. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to look at the very first Bleach game ever released.
Blue corner, Ichigo, Kurosaki, red corner, Rukia, Katsuki.
If you're into Bleach, I'm sure you came across the Heat the Soul series. The series consists of a total of 7 entries and they are all fighting games for the PSP who have never left Japan. Luckily, the PSP isn't region locked and I started to collect every game with Yoruichi in it in addition to my Brave Souls account, so I was able to experience the game like a Japanese kid in the 2000s who couldn't read or speak his own language. When we start the game, we see that the whole aesthetic of the menu is heavily influenced by Bleach's first opening. Once we go into the story section, we can pick 1 out of 5 characters to play as. Depending on who you're choosing, you're actually experiencing your own little story. I gotta say, the story selection is one of the most charming ones I've ever seen. It's probably what you're thinking right now. But when I leave the story and enter the time attack mode, the selection looks the same. Just like in the survival mode. And the CPU fights. If you didn't realize it yet, this game's character roster consists of 5 characters and 1 unlockable. So a total of 6 characters. 6 characters. I don't think I've ever seen a fighting game with less, so that brings up the question, when exactly was this released? Well, the very first Heat the Soul game released on March 24 in 2005. The actual Bleach anime started on the 5th October and the first season ended on February 22, a month before the actual game. So Heat the Soul includes nothing else than the substitute Shinigami arc. I hope anyone who was still wondering why there are 7 entries have their answer by now. This game got pumped out. But does that mean it's bad? Let's get into the actual story to see how it plays. When selecting the story, I obviously picked OG art style Orihime and she was the right choice. She got that American History X moveset.
Now say goodnight.
But with a Keijo finisher. Okay, so just to get this out of the way, the game looks incredible. Like I said, I'm not playing on an emulator, so it could look even better in theory, but the graphics on the PSP itself are super crisp. There are misses though. So despite all characters having their own story, you do end up fighting Renji a lot, so it's kind of like the substitute Shinigami arc with a twist. In Orihime's story, she ends up being the one to defeat Renji. I think she even nearly killed him and is shocked how strong she actually is. By the way, it was at this exact moment when I realized that Yoruichi's appearance in this game was nothing more than her cat sprites, including the saddest Yoruichi I've ever seen. Anyway. Ichigo follows pretty much the canon story. Chat is chasing Kon, I have no idea what Uryu is doing, but Rukia has a pretty neat twist. You usually fight a character only once in the story. In her case however, it's different. You start fighting Ichigo and near the end Renji, but her last fight in the story is Ichigo again due to him trying to rescue her. What's weird is that the story is exclusively told in this visual novel style and there's not a single hollow enemy. Considering that fighting hollows was 90% of that arc, I expected a few unplayable enemies, but nah, it's just fighting the same characters over and over again. But to talk about the actual game, it's fun. It is very basic, especially with only 6 characters. But I do have fun playing it. You can move and even run around in a beautiful 3D environment, have a normal attack, a special attack, a grab, a jump, some kind of force field to stagger the enemy, and 2, let's call them ultimates. Specials are on your circle button and make Rukia for example shoot Hado spells, while normal attacks consists of kicks and punches, even for Uryu. You can already combine these attacks with the different directions and then you still have your super cool ultimate. The combat system is nothing special, but for an early Bleach game like this, honestly I'm surprised it's that fun. The biggest gripe with this game is the lack of content, but it's natural when the anime is barely out and you don't want to spoil anything. Besides the story mode, there's only an offline battle, online battle, survival and time attack mode. And don't get me wrong, that's probably the best they could have done with this game, but with only 6 characters this feels like not a lot of content. Beating these modes will get you tea, a currency which you can spend in the shop. But what are you even buying? Well, you buy cards. Actual trading cards from Bleach Soul Card Battle to be precise. Cards which I actually started to collect last year. Just like Heat the Soul, Bleach Soul Card Battle also never left Japan, except for a German edition for the first 2 sets as far as I know. Bleach was never big over here by the way, so I have no idea why they've done this. But I hope you like the trivia. You might wonder why I haven't talked about the unlockable character yet. So obviously it's Renji, but when I finished all the stories, he wasn't unlocked. Turns out I gotta collect 50 cards to unlock him and 70 cards for a story mode. And before I collect 70 cards, I just decided to grind all of them. Let's explore this little game to its full potential. So Renji's story was basically him arriving to kidnap Rukia, but also beating up every single one of her friends who tried to rescue her. That's it. However, while buying these cards I unlocked two other things. One of these was a minigame called Block-On, which is basically a single player Pong-like game. To play this, the game told me to hold my PSP upside down, but since I was recording footage on my TV, I played it like that. There's also a 2-player mode and a third one, which I can't unlock. Seriously, I couldn't find out what I had to do. Maybe I just have to clear all the levels, which I will absolutely not do. I already grinded all the cards. But it's funny how this minigame has special attacks with characters like Gin who aren't even present in the rest of the game. So on top of all the other modes and these trading cards, we also have a minigame for even more content. I can respect how much they try to fit into this, since 6 characters is almost nothing for a fighting game. Now, the last thing I unlocked was a video, but not a commercial like all the others. The video is called Radio Con and is this weirdly animated shot of Kon who tries to touch Orehime's boobs. And I know this is in character, but this clip gives me serious creepypasta vibes. I just hope there's some major misunderstanding due to the language barrier, but it seems like Kon is literally asking Orihime to touch her. And when she seems to give him permission, there's an uncomfortable animated bloodshot coming out of Kon's nose. His expressions in here are neither cute nor comedic, and there's a moment where he gets super angry and at the very end, someone breaks his neck. Okay, jokes aside, it's not remotely as bad as I'm making it out to be, but it did feel like a fever dream watching it. I just wanted to prove to myself that the footage is rather eerie with the right music. But that pretty much concludes Heat the Soul, the very first Bleach game. There's not that much to say about it. It does have pretty cool alternate costume colors like Renji's academy uniform, and when I actually grinded for these cards, I found myself doing quite a number of cool combos. For what it is, the game is great. If you grew up with Bleach and loved this first arc already, this was the game for you. It looks beautiful, has some funny story bits, the aesthetic, and just overall nailed the feeling. I want to give this game a rating, since I'm planning to do that for every Bleach game, though I'm not sure if I do an entire video for all of them, especially the DS ones. But right now I can't give this game more than a 4 out of 10. It's fun, but it lacks actual content. But I'm sure that the next entry will immediately fix this problem, since arriving in the Soul Society expands the roster by potentially 20 characters. If you're interested in seeing me cover all the other Heat the Soul games, please leave a like and subscribe, I really appreciate it. So thanks for watching. When you see this video, I try to put out something for Heat the Soul 2 as soon as possible. But before I actually cover that, there's one other Bleach game I need to talk about first.